Hello, Chooks. Morning. Sorry, good afternoon. Yeah, I did. So she's trying to join. So anyways, no, yeah.
That's fine. Whether she can take it or not, it's fine. Anyone will run it like that. So okay. Are you going to share the slides?
Yes, I will.
You can put it up now in case people start joining.
Yes, I'll do that right away.
Right.
But I want to send the updated one on the email so that
okay, yeah.
Okay. So we should also be aware of our surroundings. So for general safety, let's avoid hitting while we're talking to avoid getting choked. I think we all teach the children to do that, and it also applies to us as adults. Carefulness costs us nothing, but carelessness may be very costly. Let's continue to keep safe, be careful, be aware, and be safe. Okay, now back to today's webinar. So we're going to be introducing the speaker, and we're going to introduce the webinar for today. So our guest speaker for today is Dr. Sulaiman. Dr. Sulaiman is actually a scientist at the Alfred Wegener Institute Helmholtz Center for Polar and Marine Research, an adjunct professor in the Multimedia University and University Malaysia Police. He's a director of C-Nexus Biotechnology with a PhD in mechanical engineering, marine technology, safety and environmental risk and reliability modeling of complex marine systems. And he is the author of 11 books and more than 180 peer-reviewed journals. Dr. Sulaiman holds a wide scope of competencies ranging from marine technology and ocean engineering, safety and environmental risk and reliability, offshore aquaculture and bioeconomy, integrated water, nature-based engineering for coastal resilience, inland waterway and transportation, seaweed climate nexus, energy and environment, to greenhouse gas emission quantification, climate change control and adaptation systems, offshore aquaculture technology, integrated technology for marine systems, goal-based systems, integrated seaweed and sea farming, blue bioeconomy and biotechnology, resilient system and technology in marine engineering. So Dr. Sulaiman aims to undertake challenges with progressive people in progressive environments. Of course, SPE Lagos is one of such, and to share his experience and knowledge to exercise sustainable practice that provides a local impact community development needs of the people, the environment, and the global goal, an achiever of greater things without growing themselves first. Today's topic, like I mentioned, is the series 1, the solar hybrid technology and other environmental solutions as potential for sustainable energy in Africa. Let's make welcome Dr. Sulaiman Onariwaju for today's webinar. But before I hand over finally to Doctor for his presentation, let's just keep, okay. So we would just please bear with us a few moments. Our guest speaker is having slight glitches joining us just yet. So let's just keep connected. Let's stay connected while we wait for the speaker.
I'm already here.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir. I couldn't just join, just see that. Welcome, sir, Dr. Sulaiman.
You're welcome.
You're welcome, sir. So before I hand over finally to you, please, let's make it interactive by using the chat box, chat room to put in all the questions or thoughts, so that at the end of this presentation, we're then going to go through the questions in the chat room. Please, let's make use of that so that we can attend to all the questions, and also let's make it very interactive by asking questions. Okay, without wasting so much time, then I hand over to Dr. Sulaiman for his presentation. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much for the introductions, and I will proceed to share my slide.
Yes, please go ahead, sir.
Okay. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes, if you can just put on the slideshow, that would greatly help us, sir.
Okay, great. Thank you for inviting me. And I'm very, very happy to be in this platform to have opportunity to share to my colleagues, and also you are my families, and also my families around the world as well, who are joining today. So today I will talk about, thanks for the good introductions. I'm a scientist and I'm a professor. I teach in different universities. I also conduct research for many years. And I'm very much into this, especially development around water resources. So today I will talk about energy sustainability, okay? Especially the use of solar hybrid technology. And I will also discuss other environmental issues and solutions. And in between, I will make comments how Africa can benefit from this. I'm talking about this topic because I started my career as a marine engineer. I used to work on power plants on the ships. So wherever is possible, and this is not too far from offshore platform as well. I have worked on offshore structures and all that. So when I'm going to be making some references, so I'll be using some example from the field of offshore and marine. And this is good because the platform, okay, is also from here. And I'm happy you are interested in topic like this to diversify. Besides this, I also run CNexus, which is a company to translate research data into product and services. Okay. I have published many books. So some of the things I'll be talking about are some of the things I have taught, and I have spent time to put them into pen and paper. Some of them will be related to safety, for example. Some of them will be related to water and the risk. And also some of them will be related to, how we manage water inlands. And of course, I will also be mentioning about climate change control systems, for example, and also some aspect of safety, and of course, sustainability and renewable energy, for example. So as I have mentioned, the talk focus on Africa, for example, and the reason why solar is important for Africa is renewable energy need to be selected. I'm not sure if I have okay, it's the correct one, but okay. Need to be selected based on resources. So Africa has very good resources from solar, because over here in Europe, for example, people have to wait for about windows of like 3 months or some time to see the sun. So this is a very good opportunity, and the opportunity doesn't end there. If we do not have all the capability to do what we need to do, we can already, we can also use that other possibility to use the hybrid. Give me a second. I just want to double check if I'm sharing the right slide. Okay, it's fine. Okay, so I'll be talking about clean energy conservation systems and greenhouse gas control technology options. and some ways to mitigate greenhouse gas emissions. And I also mentions about energy from the ocean. And for one reason, our planet is 70% water and 30% is land. And there are a lot of nature resources that are also coming from the ocean beside the sun that we can tap to. Okay, so the need for cleaner energy is very clear to all of us because believe me, most or not, most of the technology that have been developed in the past are developed based on a little bit of knowledge and also a little bit of studies about what are the impacts, about are we doing the right thing or not? Can we double check again? So, and the same thing is happening again in the alternative energy field. For example, I will give you one example. In those days, a lot of ways to mechanize things were developed. For example, to build factories, for example, to build very, very big farms, but not only after, you know, about 4 decades, we started to ask questions. For example, where are the birds? We started to ask questions, why is the climate is changing? Because of the emissions that are coming from machinery, for example. So most of the things that we build are based on, they are based on knowledge, but they're also based on ignorance. And that is why today we need to be very careful in how we end up with the resources that we are building. Okay, so the solar energy has increased pretty much more than this number now. I couldn't get the recent figure. And the same thing with wind power. The first reason for solar is because of the availability, especially in around the equator. Okay, it's quite pretty much available, and also because some related technology like some technology related to solar have been developed before, like semiconductor industry, for example, the ET industry. And so it was very easy to quickly tap into it and to make law or to use the law of physics to develop this area. And then back in the West, there is no solar, but they spent a lot of money on research, okay? They have a lot of wind, and so they need to develop this area. So they spend a lot of money to develop it, to develop rules, and that area also grow. Besides that, there are also a few hydropower and also, of course, nuclear, oil, of course, but eventually, like what I mentioned earlier, maybe it is just time to balance, like to really look at the resources, like the oil resources, because if we don't pump them as well, there'll be too much tilting of resources in one area. So there need to be a balance. And because they are coming from biomass, and we don't have to actually pump all the biomass as well, because maybe they are useful for certain things that is keeping our planet intact, that is avoiding disaster, for example. So And then in Africa, of course, many places there is problem about electricity and also water. This is very common in most parts of Africa, and you can see some of the numbers here, for example. And this is the reason why it's very important to tap into what we have, like solar, for example. And we have to use them with conventional power if it is needed. And we have to use them with other energy resources that we have. So solar power offer many benefits, okay? And the sun burned for 4 to 5 billion more years, example. And so it's always available. And the PV technology has been well developed. And even where they don't have sun, I have seen solar power working perfectly. Now, to make everything efficient, the best way for us to go with solar is to quickly look into a tactical measure to integrate it with whatever we have now. And of course, we cannot do it ourselves, the government. They have to really do a very good plan, and they have to have vision, for example, to deliver what is necessary, what cannot be delivered at the short run to meet the demand of the people and the need of the people, okay? And so there is possibility to use PV and also to use solar heating. And I am not pro using solar modular devices much, because eventually, maybe in future, we can handle with a lot of waste in our system. So we have to also look into this. And not only that, for solar, we have to look into, at the end of life, what do we do with the material? Can we recycle them? So that we don't only think about just ourselves, we have to think about our generations, 3 generations, 4 generations, or 5 generations, for example. Okay, so, but solar is a very good choice for Africa, and solar can be hybrid with conventional power, and eventually it has to be hybrid with other available renewable energy as well. But this requires no quick fix. It has to be well studied. So the issues today are many. These are just some of them. The combustion, for example, is combustion in engine, in machineries, for example, always resort to pollution and emission, for example, and which is, of course, affecting our climate. And that leads to quest for alternative energy, for example, how to tap what our forefathers has done, you know, in the previous century, how to increase or augment that into, how to innovate that into new ways, new technology. And international regulations are building. The reason why they are now biting us yet is because regulation is about, okay, we know there is a problem, and then we have to find a solution, okay? And then, yeah, is there any solution? And then is there any availability? So most of the bulk of the problem with renewable energy is, yeah, people have technology, but there is no availability, for example. There is not enough solar, for example. Or they have technology and maybe sometimes they can only use it once. They cannot use it in other places properly. So reassessment of revolutionary work plan to reduce emission, challenge matching of energy efficiency with the emission. This is the greatest problem for humanity, how to make this balance. How do we get efficiency at the same time? Make sure nature is intact, for example. Emission is inherent consequence of power plant, as I mentioned earlier, and fuel burning is the main source. So it takes a lot of time to also figure this out. And eventually, the type of fuel we are using, they are linked to emission, and the type of machine we are using are linked to emission. Okay, and then emission limit driving evolution to development and adaptation. Okay, and then consideration involve not only fuel, but also operational issue like what do we do in terms of operation? Okay. So I have actually reduced the text before, so I do not have the latest version, but I just have to continue. Sorry about that. So I have talked about fuel. Fuel is very, very critical in relation to emission. For example, the effluents from emission that are coming out of fuel, some of them, like the NOx, for example, the NOx, normally it operates at very, very high temperature. And sometimes high temperature is not good for the engine. So how do you balance this? So in recent years, some industries, especially the shipping industries, they came up with a system for retrofitting. And some of this system, I think they are also used now in the industries, for example, and how to put some humidifier, for example, to lower the emission. And the oil industry also, they use a lot of mechanism to lower the sulfur before they are put into the engine. So the threats are many. The threats, okay, they are related to fresh water, they are related to ecosystem collapse, they are related to land use, for example, and transboundary issue. They are related to habitat loss, especially for animals, biodiversity, for example, release of toxics into the water system, because eventually the waste, we have to do something about them. And of course, sea level rise, because our planetary system is so linked that the sun, for example, and the sea, they interact. And if there is too much heat, it's going back to, the bulk of it is going back to the ocean, and the ocean sink them or keep them. And somehow they affect the biodiversity that is supporting our life. There are high probability problems, okay? For example, land-based resources degradation, marine resources as well, damage due to disaster, which we are seeing every day. And environmental damage, loss of biodiversity, depletion of nature, and greenhouse gas emissions, and the impact on the ozone system. So there are also low probability and slow impact. Mostly, these are, the global climate change that is, point form activities. They are adding up and adding up. And organic pollutant, for example, they are settling somewhere and adding up and adding up. And later, they exacerbate into, bigger problem. Desertification, for example, and deforestation, and also marine environment and resource degradation. So these are the problem we get by not using clean energy, for example. Okay. And I will also talk about the evolution of power plants, not necessarily marine, but power plants. So typically, most power plants are either mechanically operated or magnetically operated, sometimes photonic based. And these are also linked to natural activities. They are linked to motions, for example, from nature. For example, the case of solar is more to electronics, for example, electromagnetic as well. An effort to apply mechanical power for motions have been around for centuries, starting from diesel, for example, steam and diesel, for example. Steam and diesel was the first hybrid used in the past before the main diesel engine was invented, and later the gas turbine, okay, was invented. And to make distinctive integrated technology expertise required for the design of the system. Okay, so you, especially to be able to use them, so they require a lot of expertise, and eventually in energy system, mostly even diesel or whatever we are using today, we get only maybe about 60% of energy, and the rest are losses. And these losses, this is where people are innovating to keep the energy within the systems. And so we have developed systems and they are not compatible. For example, gas turbine engine, okay, cannot use diesel engine, and diesel engine cannot use steam engine, for example. Okay, so we need to look into some ways that this can be used. Eventually, in the last decade, there have been some use of hybrid of engine and hybrid of fuel. So now this is a typical power plant arrangement, okay? I wanted to put another one here for the house, but it's okay. I use this example because it's much more simpler. And so you have, mostly you have your power source coming from here, for example. This is for offshore structure. You can see a ship is lying down and the offshore structure is sitting. So it's typically the same. And you use the same thing, for example, for your buildings. And so I will go through it. It's a review because eventually if we want to talk about solar and we want to talk about new energy and environment, we also have to talk to the problems. Where are the problems coming from? So that's why I have this slide here. And so you can have, for example, the steam turbine, the turbines, for example, that based on the heat, they can provide power and torque, okay, for our activity. The same thing goes with the diesel. So you have the diesel generators here. You can also introduce some electronic devices here, and also like thyristor and transformer, for example. And they can deliver some power for a system. The same thing go with the offshore system, especially the one that can move by themselves. So they can have very high power to move some thruster. Okay, so basically the systems are almost the same, and the space and power, okay, within the area of operations, whether in the house or on the ships or anywhere, determine what kind of energy you can use. So this need to be, or in the airplane, this need to be put into considerations when you are going to choose which hybrid system you want to use. For offshore system, for example, maybe they need this. They need solar. They need wind as well. And people are doing this now. They are integrating hydrogen, for example, wind with solar, for example, in offshore structures. And this needs to be done for our industries, because every industry that is producing need to go to zero release of emission before we can actually say, okay, the solar power we are using is clean, because the industry that produce the material, they produce the material from what? So we need to have this accountability, and we need to be able to strike the balance. And FPSO, this is another configurations for the power. So based on what is needed, for example, a typical FPSO, floating production unit, for example, the power need can be different. And this is the two latest, emerging design, for example, in future. This is from Shell, for example. So, and then another thing that is important is if we choose, okay, the hybrid we want to use for our system, we must also choose, take into considerations the systems, the flow, the components of the whole systems. And all of this can go into either electron or heat balance to determine how much we need and how much we can hybrid from other sources. And this is a typical diagram for the power distributions. It can be used for any of those systems, or also in the house, depending on how much power we need. Okay. So these are some of the solutions that are existing now. For example, alternative energy is one, and dual fuel. We can also hybrid fuel. We can use, for example, biodiesel and biogas together, or we can use gas and diesel together. And we can also hybrid solar with other things. And this is the direction that we need to look at at the moment to make renewable energy efficient, a transition until there is full efficiency, or there is possibility to be able to use all our resources properly. There are also the use of water, for example, to cool some part of the fuel system. And then the use of firing chamber, for example, potential for gas turbine, potential for turbocharger, and the use of compound cycle, for example, to burn, I mean, as an hybrid, to burn energy. And sometimes you can also, the treatment of the exhaust system. Now, the energy source is linked to fuel, okay? And the quest for fuel-friendly to environment have been recognized, especially not only maritime industry, all the industry now. And improvement of gasoline and diesel by chemical reformulations. The oil industry has focused on this for a long time. Inconvenience posed by this reformulation are performance problem. Most of the time when they come up with these solutions, the engine performance is lower. And eventually, they have to spend more money on research. Now, the journey for the energy system is from coal to oil. At the moment, natural gas, okay, is still cleaner than oil. It doesn't mean that it's clean. And then we have hydrogen and solar, okay, and wind, for example. And I put here because some of this is the publications on natural gas ships, for example. So you can make reference to it if you like. So natural gas is not very clean, but at the moment is one solution. And another good thing is it can be used for electric power mostly, okay? Electric engine. And the technology transfer will continue in this direction for now. So then we have electric drive, and the electric drives are really good engine, and mostly they are very easy to be as a conventional power, to be hybrid with alternative energy. And the electric drives, mostly they can also use different type of fuel, okay, sometimes to generate them. And the good thing, especially with the mobile device like ships, for example, even in the house, you can zone energy system, mostly in facilities, but if you're using an engine like diesel for propulsion, it's very hard, but for electric, it's quite easy. And high voltage is tied to electric. There is a use of very large high voltage on land, maybe 300 kVA, but on the ships, the maximum is 6 kVA because of safety. Because every time you are generating high voltage, you cannot get too close to it because of radiation. And another good thing about electric drive, they are very, very quiet compared to diesel. And so I should have mentioned that. And this is another publications whereby we co-propulsion of engine, use of gas turbine, for example, with diesel, okay? And also, I also look in the past on waste energy from the waste. And eventually, all this new technology, the industry has not cracked through the efficiency quite well. So most of the time, the best thing is to keep using them, but to hybrid them with other energy source that will improve the efficiency. So this is a typical hybrid of the electric engine. So here, for example, you can combine diesel and gas or steam or fuel or even piston engine, okay? And from there, that can pass through an electronics, and then you can store it, and then you can use the power, either to move some devices or to use it for work. So this is a concept that we need to focus on if we do not have enough money to have all the energy that we need. For example, we have the possibility to use the machinery that we have at the moment and just bring the emission down a bit. Here is a solar turbine engine from Solaris. And this is a typical combinations of diesel and liquefaction of fuel, okay? This is very common in on LNG ships, for example, okay? And then there is also dual fuel, for example, like combining gas and also diesel. All of these, they will contribute certain amount to the problem of energy, and they will also reduce some of the waste in our systems. And this is the gas turbine engine, and this is a typical combination of gas and gas engine, okay? And this is steam and gas, for example, is combined together. And this can be also combined with, for example, solar, for example, especially at the distribution phase. I have seen this in the ship before. Equipment that are using less power can be routed to be, to be driven by, say, for example, solar. This is solar, hydrogen, and conventional power hybrid. A paper on this and techno-economic studies on using solar power with diesel, for example. It's also my publications, and of course, solar power to use it with biogas, for example, from seaweed. So this is also a possibility. So solar power is a very good candidate, and especially for Africa, we must try to use it. We must try to study our culture, our systems, our environment, how much exact solar we can have. We have to localize the development, then we can have the very good result that we need. And we must, in order to hybrid solar and localize everything, we must also assess what are the other resources we have in our environment that we can combine, okay, to make solar power works. And mostly they can be passive, mostly especially in coal region. So they have a system to harness solar and use it, for example, later. And also they can be active, whereby the energy is collected directly to the collectors and used. And the thermal mass normally depends on how we orientate, the design, and also the nature around it, for example. And we have to strike some balance. So all of these are very important to make sure that the collector, what is designed for to get the solar, okay, is performing the functions. So, okay, solar power towers mirror concentrated sunlight into receiver to create electricity. This, we need to be very careful to make sure that, you know, the place, the density is not too much. For example, in order to implement this kind of systems. For example, anybody who know how electronics works know that if you work in this kind of environment, the person cannot last long because there is a lot of electron transfer. And so issues of safety related to the issues of solar, we must also address this. And solar to collector system, the mirror focus on sunlight, okay, input, and through and solar energy use has grown by 28 worldwide, 28%, maybe more than that now. Photovoltaic cell normally collect the solar and convert it into electricity. The PV that is very common now. And this is based on semiconductor technology that is widely developed for all our electronics. So because of this, so it's very easy to produce this now, and maybe other area that they'll be interesting to focus on, you know, the material and also the issue related to how dense it has to be. Because we have solar in Africa doesn't mean that we have to put solar panel everywhere. We need to assess everything properly. And then, okay, I'm going to run fast because my time is going to be up. So we have wind power. Okay, wind power is well developed. For example, in Europe, if you travel everywhere, there is a lot of wind. And then we have geothermal. I am not a very good fan of geothermal because of anything that involves breaking earth crust has possibility to cause problem related to earthquake in future. But if there is too much geothermal in one place, we have to harvest it. So the same thing, so there is need for this balance in order to be able to hybrid. And then hydrogen, for example, is a very common element, the most common element in our planet. So there is possibility to also harvest hydrogen. And to hybrid it with solar is very, very good, possibility. And then fuel cell are mostly dry hydrogen with a stack in like a battery form. And this is also a very good candidate that can be hybrid with solar. And then there is a lot of energy from the ocean. This include wave, current, tidal, offshore wind, and also seaweed biomass. And this makes sense. Our ocean is quite big, and because of this energy, that's why the waves are created. And there is a huge temperature in our oceans that can be, you know, tapped. And also there is a lot of mechanical power that can be tapped, but the cost is not cheap. It's not cheap to harvest wave energy. And then this is one type of wave energy that you can use to harvest and also to protect the coast at the same time. So, and so this is a possibility for coastal interaction. And this is a wave energy device I developed myself. I developed a wave energy device, which I have tried a prototype in the ocean. And like solar energy, okay, we need to map where we can find enough solar density to be able to install the amount of energy that we need there. Then we have current energy also coming from the current in the water resources, and Otec. Otec is basically for temperature, to harvest temperature heat within the ocean body, but this is not common everywhere. Only a few places with about 20-degree temperature gradients, it's possible to harvest this kind of energy. Then you have hydropower, and of course you have biomass, seaweed, for example. We can harvest energy from seaweed for energy. And this is exhaust gas emission and how they are affecting, how they are coming out from the engine, for example, then NOx, SOx, and there is a lot of regulation now about this. For example, especially in relation to ships, some places in the Baltic, they cannot go there, and then there are some tests that has to be done to meet some emission line. And this is what, then there are some ways to reduce emission, for example, to control it. And then risk assessment is very important. And these are some of the ways to control the emission. For example, this is good for NOx by installing selective catalytic reduction methods and refining the injection, and also by using water mixture. Sustainability is about balancing everything, and maintaining the quality, for example, is very important. And to maintain the quality, if we maintain them, there are a lot of advantage in terms of meeting future law, and also in terms of having the healthy environment, and in terms of creating better future for our kids. And there are personal responsibility that can be done, like every time we are doing purchase, we should think about little things we can contribute to the issues of environment. And safe working practice is very important in development of this kind of technology. Okay. And this we can refer to compliance equipment. The need for inspection is very important, because if we don't, that will be catastrophic. And there are also risk approach to detect gaps in the systems. In conclusion, there is need for alternative energy, and funding is very important. If we don't have enough funding, then we should try ways, innovative ways to hybrid whatever we have as resources, energy resources, with what we have best, for example, the case of Africa. And of course, we should also keep track of the safety. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so very much, Professor Olanrewaju, for that presentation. Indeed, I know you had a lot to say, and you had to rush through the presentation. Thank you. So you've taken us through the looking at the solar hybrid technology and other environmental solutions. So we're going to go to the Q&A section. But before we do that, I know just a quick summary. So basically, you've shown to us that there is a need for us to provide sustainable solutions for African energy, and solar energy is readily available source of energy that we can actually tap into in Africa and as a continent. So we're going to, and you've also talked about the different sources. So solar energy can be whether it's conventional or the hybrid. And of course, there are loads of alternative sources that you've talked through. We've talked about geothermal, hydropower, even biomass, quite a lot, LNG, quite a lot that you've talked through. Thank you very much. We're going to go through a couple of questions. I know, and I'm also pleading with the audience to please type in your questions in the Q&A area. Thanks to those that have typed their question, and then we're going to go through those with more that we've noted as well. I think there was a clarification from Omotara Samuel, Professor Olanrewaju. He wants to get clarification about the point you mentioned that the Earth is actually covered with 70% water and 30% of land. That you were going to mention why that is the case, and probably possibly what we can do with that combination that we've got.
Okay, thank you for your question. Well, I think this planet should be called water instead of Earth. So yes, eventually our planet is 70% water, and out of this 70%, 69% is ocean, and 1% is fresh water actually. And maybe as I'm speaking now, the ocean is very, very underexplored. Maybe we don't know 90% of it until now. We only know maybe 5% of it. So everywhere where you have the ocean or water resources, they play a very important role in regulating the temperature of the planet, in creating a lot of energy for our system, foods. So for this case, so people that have the coast should also explore what they can get from their coast. Is it solar or wind? Okay, but mostly what is very common with the ocean is the waves. So, but in some place, there is not enough wave. So you cannot simply spend money and go and start deploying expensive system where there is no wave or wind. So the resources need to be well assessed. And when everything is clear, then you can choose that, okay, we will use a little bit of these resources and a little bit of this, okay, to have this as an hybrid. Especially for the case of Africa, if there is not enough wind, for example, they can be combined with solar. That you have to bear in mind that you can't simply put the same type of energy source, load of it in one place, because it's going to cause catastrophe. It's going to cause, for example, if you put so much wind machine in one place, all the birds will be gone after some years, for example. So.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Professor Olanrewaju. So you also mentioned earlier in the presentation that solar modular devices, they generate lots of waste. Can you please expatiate, how do you mean, and also if you can also throw more light between the conventional power of solar and why we need to really go hybrid, considering that solar energy is in abundance, especially in Africa, and especially in Nigeria?
Okay. I think maybe I will just give you one example. For example, personally, I have so many phones. You understand? I have many phones. Sometimes I can count how many computers I have used in my life, and within certain period of time. And so the problem of electronic waste is a reality. And if we use too much modular equipment that maybe they can only last for short time, if they can last forever, it's fine, or for a long time, or they can be reused, or they come with material that can be reused. I think this is fine. And then we just need to also think that, okay, this world is not only for us, but it's also for our generations. When they're going to come, what they're going to do with this waste, those things that we have used. And well, if there are ways to dispose the modular equipment at the end of the life, then this is fine. This is okay. But I think at the moment, the best way solar is being used now is in a modular approach, in a modular way. But too modular is not good. Too modular means like putting solar everywhere in the, I mean, we need to find ways, even if we don't have the resources to build the best practices. We need to find ways to at least build systems, okay, that are close to the best practice. Everywhere in the world, I mean, most part of the world, there are best practice for power plants, okay? Though after they change from coal or from oil and gas, okay, this become a big puzzle. What will happen, okay? And to have mass of solar in a big land is also not a possibility. But maybe solar roof is good. I'm not considering this as a modular device, too modular, but maybe like other things that we can use solar roof for, we should not use them. I mean, maybe like cooking, to use solar for cooking. If we can get solar from the roof to cook, why do we want to use it for cooking? So, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much, Prof. Thank you very much for that. Another question, which we are gradually coming to an end of the presentation and the Q&A as well. It's from Emeka Esenwa. It's saying, Prof, thanks for the session. It says that determining the solar energy potential of an area is key when planning solar systems for deployment. So where can we get credible information on solar resources are available across different areas in Nigeria?
Well, for Nigeria, I have no clue, but I think if you from IEA, you can get some information about how much solar is being produced in some place. But most countries that have this kind of information, they committed a lot of money for research to have it. You see, And you can have a general information from IEA or from NASA or whatever, from all these organizations, global, but most of the time they are satellite-based. But when you're talking about the actual of what is happening locally, so they're supposed to be something that has to be done by some research establishment within Nigeria. And you can check with these organizations, and if they have it, the informations. Sometimes, I mean, lately, because of digitalization, it's easy to get this information now. If they have it, I think they will have it posted in their website.
Prof. And lastly, if I may just ask, in the cost of the solar hybrid, I know, most technologies now, they come with at high cost, and in Africa, that's a major issue. So how can we handle it such that the cost will still be affordable?
I think an advantage of using solar hybrid is actually to bring the cost down. So if you use the right human power, and you carefully do the design for the material to use and the constructions, then I think you will save a lot of money. Somehow it will become cheap in the whole process, and you avoid all the risk from the beginning, and then normally it's good to have a cost comparison before you build them. Then you know that everything will be fine with the cost. I think that is one advantage of hybrid just now. There is a possibility to use solar completely in some place now, but if depending on where you want to use the solar, if you have other resources you can combine. After you combine them, you are going to save a lot of money.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I think just before we round up, we have just another question that has come in, Prof, from Galvin Maduba. He said, as an electrical engineer, how can one develop contributory capacity in renewable energy sources and solar systems as technologies? Is it battery technology, solar panels, photo cells, etc.?
Just like the way the machineries I mentioned in one of the slides are developed, collaboration is key, okay? Even though there is semiconductor technology within solar space, okay, it's also very important to collaborate with someone with knowledge of system engineering, for example, to collaborate with somebody who knows how to make the costing properly, and to collaborate with somebody who knows about the material. The material is very important, like what material you are going to use. And of course, somebody who also well-versed in collecting data about the resources. So this is the key to succeed very, very, very well.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. Collaboration Collaboration, that's key. Okay, thank you very much, Professor Oladoku, for such an excellent and engaging presentation we've had today. Indeed, you've shown us a lot about the solar hybrid technology. Personally, I was wondering what was this hybrid about? You know, solar we do know, but thank you for enlightening us with that, and also talking about the alternative sources of energy. Indeed, we all need to start to think outside of the box and not just the conventional way, in order to also conserve the environment and also thinking about the future generations. I would also like to thank all our participants for your time today. Thank you so much. Before we do go, there are a couple of announcements that we're going to be making shortly. As we've seen on the slide being shown, we have some upcoming events. So 10th of March, we're going to have the part 2 of our energy sustainability webinar, which is going to be the subsurface considerations for carbon capture and storage. And then following that will be on the 12th of March, we're going to have the SPE Lagos Scholarship Fair. And then on the 17th of March, we're going to have the third part, the series, the energy transition, where do I fit in as an engineer? And on the 24th of March, we're going to have SPE Lagos Section 2022 Diversity and Inclusion event. So we implore us to watch out for all this program and stay connected to SPE Lagos. Before we go now, we would like to take a group picture. Okay, thank you for the next slide. So please, let's stay connected to SPE Lagos section on LinkedIn, Twitter, and all the social media handles are being displayed on our screen. And also importantly, for our SPE registration or membership renewal, please let's contact the names and the numbers and the emails that are being listed up so that we can continue to enjoy the benefits. A lot of benefits is attributed to being an active SPE member, and we'd like you to continue to benefit from there. Please, let's turn up our video. Odion, you want for us to take a group picture, a selfie, before we close for the day? Odion.
Yes, I'm here. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Suleiman, for the presentation. Let's turn on our videos, please, with a smile. Thank you. Okay, let's just wait for some more people to turn on their videos, and I'll do the click right away. Okay, we're good to go. Let's smile. Okay, let's smile as we do that. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Okay. Let's just do thumbs up. When I say SPE, you say, oh yeah, gas. Let's quickly do the thumbs up. SPE, oh yeah, and gas, and yes. Okay. All right. We're good to go. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, everybody, again, for your time. We really appreciate you, because without your participation today, the webinar would not have taken place. And again, we say thank you, a very big thank you to our presenter, Professor Oladoku Olanrewaju, for that excellent presentation. So thank you and have a wonderful evening, everybody. Bye for now, and God bless.
Thank you, bye-bye.
Bye.